Hello, it's Luke Hughes, Chief Leaderologist in Houston, Texas, coming to you live again. Look, I've got a special guest today. We're talking about rejection proof. And really, what does that mean? You know, handling rejection. You can learn a lot from kids. Look, I've learned a lot lately from my son. It just happens to be the month we're talking about rejection, and this is going to be good. I'm telling you, I learned something. And at the end, I'm going to leave you 3 things. It's not going to be quick. I really want you to get into this meeting and talk about different ways you handle rejection. But G, come on in here, man. What's going on, Doc? You doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Good, man. Everything going well?
Yes, sir.
Good to see you, man. Hey, we're talking about rejection. I know you know I do these meetings sometimes, and you know I speak to kids, and I really wanted you to come on because really you've been dealing a lot with rejection. Now, just let's take a look. You're going to see some things that come on the screen. G is an exceptional athlete, and not only in track but in basketball. But that's not as important as him being a straight A student receiving the President's Award, which is extremely hard to do right now. And I'm telling you, that means, you know, he had to make all A's several years and to get a couple other things. So how does he deal with rejection? He's going to the 6th grade, he's been in the 5th, and I'm going to ask him a question. This hadn't been rehearsed. He doesn't even know what I'm going to ask him yet, but I know he can answer because we're dealing with it. So Gary, there's a lot of people out here that you're going to be talking to, a lot of adults. And although you're a child, they go through rejection just like you do. And I know you've been dealing with rejection just from a few friends. And sometimes, you know, it's like you're on an island by yourself. Me and you have had several conversations. I actually learned something from you, son, that you got from your mom that, you know, you don't have an I don't care attitude, but things don't bother you as much. And you're able to talk to me. They still bother you. But let me ask you this, based on some of the situations we've been talking about, just in general, when someone rejects you, what do you do?
Well,
Speak up.
I sometimes ignore it, depending on what it is, or I try to have a comeback, and then I forget about it.
So you said a comeback. What's a comeback?
Like if somebody just rejects me when I'm playing basketball, they don't put me on their team and I'm really good, it's like I get this feeling that I need to do really good to show them that next time they shouldn't reject me.
Ooh. So let me translate that to maybe some of the older people and adults. Basically, instead of crying, feeling sorry for yourself, you just continue to try to do better, right?
Yes, sir.
We can learn a lot from a child. So what happens, Gary, when it seems like not only in basketball, but maybe somebody is jealous of you and not just talking about your team, even with school making straight A's, and they never say anything to you at all? How do you handle that? When they never speak to you at all, how do you deal with that situation?
Well, most of the time I never really think about it. I just think about ways that I can make them talk to me in ways that are nice though. So
you try to, rather than feel bad about it, you at least carry on to your normal day, and if you can engage in conversation, basically you show them that does not bother you. Is that correct? Okay, that's good. That's good. We can learn a lot from a child. Lastly, Gary, you know, I know we talked about sometimes, you know, maybe whether people have hurt your feelings, nobody has physically done anything to you, but I remember when you were being bullied, and I know this goes back some years ago, and of course there were times when you were doing the bullying, we had to get on to you. You know, that bully can be going so many different ways. Sometimes you can let things affect you so much through your rejection that you starting being the rejector, and you can inflict that pain that you felt on someone else. You really have to be careful how you handle rejection. But going back to that situation, Gary, how did you deal with situations where people may have been bullying you, not being your friends, some of your friends becoming friends with other people? How do you handle those situations when you feel like there is no way out, there's nothing else you can do, and you feel like maybe people are picking on you? How do you deal with those situations?
Well, after a while, after I keep noticing that they keep bullying me, the first thing I do is I tell my parents, which is you and Mom, and then y'all tell me stuff, and then I try to do those, and then if that doesn't work, then I either tell the teacher, or I find a way to make him like me, or find a way to make him not bully me.
Okay, well, and he's a kid. You can't make people like you, but there's a couple of things I really like that he said. He was able to talk to people, not only get advice, but try to implement the advice that was given. Not everything's going to work with everybody else, but guess what? There's other people that have gone before you that have been rejected probably in the same way. How about getting with some of those people, some of those groups, and finding out what they did? And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Look, I'm telling you, you can learn a lot from a child. Gee, I appreciate it, man. I'm going to end with this note. If you had anything to tell people who were feeling rejected, they were down, they were crying, they were feeling bad about themselves, maybe, Gary, they were even thinking about hurting themselves, so they would not do that. What would you tell them so people would feel better about themselves, about what they do? Could you tell people out there, what could they do to feel better?
Well, I would tell you that if your parents were still living, then I would tell you to tell your parents so you could get advice from them, and then just ignore them the majority of the time and just don't worry about it. If they keep picking on you, then just try not to listen.
I think we've heard ignoring. I don't think their opinion counts. Does their opinion dictate the truth of who you really are?
No.
Not at all, because you know who you are. If you're already good and you know you're good, why let somebody else tell you you're not good? If you already know that's not you, every description that they have about you is false, then why even believe them? Why believe false truths if you know it's not true? And at the end of the day, be honest. Whatever you believe, so it shall be. Whatever you believe, so it shall be. If you believe that you're nothing, then you'll be nothing. But if you believe you're something, then life's the limit. Look, G, we out of here, man. I'm going to tell them the 3 things that can help them, man, on a daily basis. But I appreciate your help because you can learn a lot from a child. And really what I got from G as he went through these experiences is that even if they're telling their friends and other people, what you believe is what's going to be. And really, that's why I believe you not only got the President's Club, that's why I believe you're that good in basketball and track. Because what you believe actually will come true. Look, we're out. Take a look at these 3 things and look, make it happen. Make it happen. Let's take a look at what I've provided you. You have a rejection-proof worksheet. You fill this out, it will definitely stop you from having those hard feelings of being rejected. It will make you rejection proof. And there are 3 things that you can do to become rejection proof. Don't take it personal. Talk to someone and do something. And I want you to list right now on the worksheet that's provided. If you don't have it, get it. You can get it from the video link that's been provided for you on YouTube, or you should have it at this meeting that you're in. And if you're not at a meeting, you're just looking at this video for the first time, then go ahead and download this. This will prepare you for all rejection. So don't take it personally. You got to realize people have been rejected in 2 major fields, relationships and business. And guess what? It's not going to stop happening. Once you get rejected, it's not like you're never going to get rejected again. So what I'm going to advise you to do, take time on that worksheet in reference to business. There are people like Walt Disney, Oprah Winfrey, Edison, Bill Gates, the list goes on and on. All you have to do is research it and find out the 3 people that you feel like you personally at least admire for going through obstacles and being rejected, let's say for business. And definitely you can probably look just within your own family, whether it be your mom and dad, if they've been living, I'm sure they've been rejected in the past, any relative, any friend that you looked up to that has been rejected. If you don't know, look, I can tell you, all you got to do is start asking. There's been at least 1 to 3 people that have had major rejections that you know, that all you got to do is fall back on their experiences, write down to and know the experience. So when you go through something, you'll be able to rely back on experience that you've already had that you wrote down. And you may even be able to rely on your own if you've gone through something in the past and realize you may have been rejected in your past and you got over it. You're okay. Everything's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. Look, don't take it personal. Second on that worksheet, you have got to talk to someone. Look, I don't care. This is a perfect opportunity for you to either get a mentor if it's business. Look, find 1 or 2 people, 1 to 3 people that you respect. And all you got to do is when you get rejected,
fall back on them. I guarantee you they've been rejected in the past. There is no way they've been successful and they never had any type of rejection. It's almost silly now that we think about that we would feel bad for prolonged days about being rejected, especially if it's in business or relationships. So from a business perspective or career, find 1 to 3 people. Write them down right now. You may already know them. And write them down. These are people that you can talk to that you know they've been successful. I promise you, they've been rejected in the past. And then you can come call on them and say, I went through this situation. How did you deal with it? They probably already have dealt with some of these situations. And then in reference to relationship, again, why don't you just, if your mother and your father are still living, you can call on them. If you can't talk to them, grandmother or grandfather, if you can't talk to them, cousins, if you can't talk to them, friends, I guarantee you, you know somebody. They've been rejected in relationships several times. All you got to do is ask them how they dealt with that situation. Maybe that's not the right answer for you, but I guarantee you, if you ask enough people, you'll find that there's an avenue that you can go down that will help you in life. Third, oh my goodness, do something about it. Look, sitting there crying, eating bonbons and ice cream and filling yourself with food that you really don't want to eat, sitting around watching TV thinking about the situation, guess what? That's not going to make you rejection proof. All that is going to allow you some sobbing and some pity parties that, look, you don't have time to go through that. The best advice I would give you is do something. Look, if you got to go work out, if you got to go visit somebody, if you got to get out and get active, then you got to think of 3 things that you can do when those times come and hit you hard. What are you going to do? If you already know what you're going to do, you can do it immediately. Look, you've got to do something. If you don't have a hobby, if you don't have an exercise regimen, if you don't have something that you're going to do, guess what? Your time is going to be occupied by thinking about the rejection. You got to do something. Look, I'm not going to give you 18 million things. I'm going to give you 3. You put down these 3 things, post it up, put it somewhere. I guarantee you, if you go through this scenario, it's impossible to think about rejection while you're thinking about doing something about it. Look, I did this so that you could actually talk about it at a meeting. You can talk about it with someone. You could do this with another person who hasn't even been at a meeting. They can look at the video and they can do this themselves. This is easy. Look, I want you to do it. I want you to be successful. More importantly, I want you to be rejection proof. Look, Hughes, Chief Leaderologist, I'm out. Have a good time. Look, I'll see you next time. Be blessed.